2, 3. All right, friends, we are back, and I am a walrus, and I am Tony.
Prove it.
Okay, I am Tony. I have the magical power to transform into a walrus, but you have to believe in order to see it.
I know you can prove you're Tony, but you can't prove you're a walrus.
That's because you don't believe.
I don't know. I'm a fairy. I can believe in a lot of things.
That's why it's so offensive that you don't believe in me.
My name is Leanne, and I am your sparkly happy fairy. And every once in a while, I gotta poke at the walrus here to keep him honest. So, riots in Hong Kong and China devaluing its currency.
And moving troops on the border of Hong Kong. It looks like they're about ready to crack down on the protests violently.
Interesting.
So,
Talk to me.
man, it's getting crazy. I do think these trade wars need to be fought. And I think it from a national security perspective. We don't want Chinese dominance of the Pacific, let alone the world.
We let that happen for a very long time.
Yeah. I mean,
90% of the products we buy here in the U.S. are made in China.
well,
Or Taiwan.
yeah. And that's why I do believe that these trade wars need to be fought. I do think that we will win in the end. For two reasons. It's very similar to
Okay.
why we won the Cold War in the end.
Yeah, but that took decades.
It did take decades.
Do
Maybe Trump shouldn't have said trade wars are easy to win.
If we're talking about a Cold War situation, that took decades and 2 generations.
Yeah, but it needed to be fought.
I'm not saying it didn't need to be fought, but do we really want to go into a 2-generation long trade war with China?
We'll survive. It sucks.
Maybe.
Did we really want to? Did we really want to invade Nazi Germany? Did we really want to defeat the Imperial Japan? Did we really want to fight the Civil War?
We kind of actually... Okay, we didn't really want to fight the Civil War. I'll give you that. When it comes to invading Germany, that was about saving lives.
It needed to be done. It's not something... There's a difference between wanting and needing to do something.
Okay, that's fair.
It's like, I don't want this to happen, but it's like going to work. You don't want to ever go to work. No one ever wants to go to work. But you need to go to work. Well, I'm not wrong.
Shut up, your blasphemy.
My blasphemy? Why, did you enjoy work?
No. But I don't need to go to work. I'm filing for disability.
My point is, sometimes you gotta do things you don't want to do, and they suck.
And some of us are so broken we can say, shut up with your blasphemy. I don't need to go to work. Because I can't.
Yeah, that's fair. We've talked about that before, but I think it is a little ridiculous to get a client for disability. But anyways.
Wait. Oh, that I had to file a claim.
Yeah.
That it just didn't get approved.
Yeah.
Well, I had to file the claim for it to be approved, for them to know that I needed this. Basically, the first filing is saying, hey, I need this.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of cases in which it should have just been approved.
Yeah. You always gotta go through it twice at least.
Actually, I'm on my 3rd. Because you go through the first attempt, and then you file a reconsideration.
Yeah, that's right. You're going in
and
front of a
then you
judge.
have to file for a hearing.
Yeah.
And that is where it takes the time. is it can take anywhere from 18 months to 2 years from the time you request a hearing to actually sit in front of a judge.
Well, hopefully by the time you sit in front of a judge, we would have won the trade war. But
yeah, so back to the topic at hand. Riots in Hong Kong, military on the border, and Chinese devalued their currency this morning. As of taping this morning, not as of airing this morning.
Yeah, and I actually hadn't heard about that. I had heard of them about putting the troops on the border. So basically, if you don't know, Hong Kong, former British colony, obviously kind of had that liberal tradition
Right.
when they were handed back over to China, which I think now they're realizing that was a mistake. They needed to stay part of the UK or become an independent state.
It probably would have become an independent state because it was actually part of the treaty that they would be handed over after so many years.
Okay, yeah. China kind of left them alone for a long time. Well, when I say left them alone, they were picking away at some of their independence slowly but surely. But recently, there was extradition law.
Yes.
But basically, it would allow the Chinese government to grab criminals.
Political prisoners.
Basically, and bring them and try them in Chinese courts instead of. I assume there's different judicial systems. I actually don't know the details. But anyways, that sparked off a lot of protests in Hong Kong because a lot of people viewing that as like the last step, the last stand. Basically, if they don't do this, they're going to lose what little freedoms they have left. And so that's been going on for a while. And now, basically, like I said, the Chinese have devalued their currency, so...
They did that this morning. They intentionally devalued the currency and then told companies based in China not to sell to U.S. farmers.
Yeah, so... And now they're looking to crack down on civil unrest. So they're going in it for the long haul, I think.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, too. You know, you look at the Chinese social credit score. And I had thought about this, but after it was explained to me, it made a lot of sense. I was watching a video, people talking about it. Basically, what China is doing with their social credit score is basically creating a permanent underclass to support the middle and upper class. I mean, that's what it is.
Well, it's not just that.
Because they can't sustain the growth that they have with their current economic system.
Right. But the social credit score is one of those things that is very scary because it could easily spread out.
Yeah, people sitting there thinking it's a good idea here.
And no, you
Bam.
have no idea. Because the way it works, from what I understand, is you get points for having a job or going to work and doing social services and all this other stuff, and then you get points taken away from you for things like smoking and speaking out against the government and all this other stuff. Well, this type of social credit score goes against everything that the U.S. was founded on.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And I don't want to see it here in the United States.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, it's bad enough with the Twitter mob.
Right.
Imagine the Twitter mob with legitimate power. Like, they have the power now to get people fired and things.
Right.
But imagine them with, like, legal power.
Okay, so there's two
That's terrifying.
TV shows.
Yeah, the
Black Mirror did an episode called Nosedive.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one was... The Orville
Oh, the Orville did it?
did an episode called Mob Rule, where they were on a planet and all of their justice. It was a true democracy where your trial was held online through a live stream, and you got upvoted or downvoted, and if you got more upvotes than downvotes, you won your case. If you got more downvotes than upvotes, you lost and you were executed for something as simple as not standing up on the bus or accidentally spilling your coffee, or in the case of the Orville situation, a crew member was being silly and obscene with one of their statues. Like, he was being obscene, but he was being silly about it. Like, he didn't...
Yeah.
And...
I like the Orville, although I haven't seen all the episodes.
Yeah, so watch those 2 episodes and you see exactly how bad the credit score system can go for you.
Yeah.
And how quickly it can happen.
Yeah, I mean... the idea of the social credit score is just a really, really, really bad idea.
No,
well, it's an authoritative idea. That's what it is.
Yeah, but I don't like it. When I saw the Black Mirror episode, I thought, okay, that sounds really similar to what we've got going on with things like Uber and programs like that, where you get a score of 1 to 5 as a rider or a driver.
Mm-hmm.
And while in theory it makes sense to be able to rate your good drivers high and rate your bad drivers low, what we're talking about is every personal interaction you have getting rated on a score of 1 to 5.
I know I'd be low. I'm too much. Imagine if she rated me the first night she met me. 0 stars.
Bam. I would have crashed his score right there. And that's the problem, because it becomes a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
And then one person sees it, and then the next person sees it, and the next person, and the next person, and you end up with a mob mentality like you see on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that I want my Twitter score to be how people see me.
No.
Which is why I'm not on Twitter.
Yeah. I am on Twitter, but I just kind of just scroll through. I tweet ever so often. If something like really... Mostly it's just responses to Hillary Clinton, like, you deserve to be in jail. That's literally all every time she talks about justice, I just... But that's the problem. Twitter's all about anger.
Yeah.
Social media is all about anger. Oh, I didn't mention this in the guns video, but apparently the founder of 8chan, it's like 4chan, but it's 8chan.
Okay.
Apparently he said, yeah, take the site down.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
That was kind of interesting. I've never actually been on 8chan, so I don't know. But I know that a lot of the actual white nationalists have moved to 8chan because on 4chan they get challenged a lot, or they get,
yeah.
it's kind of where they go to hang out, I guess. Personally, I say shut Facebook, shut Twitter, shut them all down. Shut them all down, as far as I'm concerned. Not really, but maybe.
I would agree and disagree. I mean, because for people like me, where my family is spread out all over,
yeah,
Facebook has become a really good way for me to
to keep in contact,
to get information out to my family.
Yeah,
I can post something on Facebook in a filter group that is just my family, and then my family members will all know with one post, in theory, what's going on with me. Whereas Otherwise, I would have to call my mom in Idaho, my dad in Alabama, try and get a hold of my brothers who were in Idaho and Utah, and somebody else is like, we can't even find him. We don't know where he's at. One of my brothers. I can let, everybody that I consider family know with one shot what's going on with me.
Yeah, I know. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that.
And that, I think, is
I
an
understand
amazing tool when you look at Facebook like that.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook becomes an awesome tool for that sort of thing. So I wouldn't want to shut it down. But what it has become is so much a monster outside of that tool that it was created to be.
Yeah, it really has. It really is. I don't know, because then you get into the fake news and all that other stuff. But going back to the Chinese situation, I don't know. It's going to get interesting here in the next couple weeks.
Yes.
Because you have to understand one thing about the Hong Kong protests, and this is why they haven't been put down yet. They've done estimates, and they figure it's anywhere between it's at least half to 2/3 of the population in Hong Kong are actively in these protests. Now think about that.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, and that means that there's a lot more who support the protests that aren't necessarily doing them. Which means when the Chinese troops enter the city or start entering Hong Kong territory, we might see violence. And yeah, you're talking military, but you're also talking the population of Hong Kong, and you're talking 80 to 90% of the people of Hong Kong support these protests, and then they get in their head that it's time to fight. We're talking about a lot of people willing to fight.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's enough people that, despite the military superiority of China, it doesn't necessarily mean that China's going to win. That said, China has a lot of people too, but especially if it drags out, you'll have other quasi-independent city-states like Macau and some of the other ones along the coast thinking, well, if they can do that to Hong Kong, they can do it to us. Maybe it's time to fight now. Are you looking up the population of Hong Kong?
I'm looking up a comparison.
I think there's at least 10 million people living in the Hong Kong area. That's a lot of people.
Yeah. Okay, so Hong Kong is approximately 1,108 square feet,
Mm-hmm.
where the United States is approximately, square kilometers, not feet. 9,833,517 square kilometers. The population of Hong Kong is 7.2 million people.
Mm-hmm.
The United States is 319.4 million people.
Mm-hmm.
7.2 million people. You're looking at something, and I'm guesstimating here, about the size of New York or LA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, a lot of people have said that Hong Kong is the greatest city in the world in terms of population and economic power.
Right.
I don't know if it actually is. I think it probably is actually still New York. But it's hard to argue that it's New York
when we're looking at population and size and population density.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can easily compare New York to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
For the purposes.
When I'm saying greatest city in the world, I'm considering population, economic capability, and things like that.
Right. Well, what I'm getting at is you take It would be similar to the U.S. having to go into Manhattan
Oh yeah, into New
to
York
control into New York City, New York, or Manhattan Island,
or L.A.
or L.A.
and basically put the population down.
and do it with military force
Mm-hmm.
is what we're looking at when we say that China is moving military troops onto Hong Kong, and 2/3 of their population is involved in these riots and actively rioting. I just kind of wanted to look up the stats and the numbers and really.
So we're looking at least 4 to 5 million people who support.
Right, to put this in perspective for our viewers, because that is huge. Like, that is huge in a very small, contained area.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just over 1,000 square kilometers. That's not a very big
Yeah, we could, if
area.
it escalates, we could be looking at a genocide.
Easily.
That's scary. Very
Easily.
scary. And like I said, if let's say it does escalate into fighting, and somehow the Hong Kong people are able to at least slow down the Chinese military and drag it into a long, prolonged fight, you're going to have other cities in Hong Kong that are very similar status to Hong Kong thinking, oh shit.
Right. Well,
And they might try to do something.
there are those of us that grew up remembering the protests in China.
Yeah, the Tiananmen Square protest.
Tiananmen Square. That happened when I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that live as it happened.
Mm-hmm. This could be a lot worse.
And this could be worse.
This could be a lot worse.
And that scares me. That absolutely terrifies me. Like, you have no idea how much that terrifies me.
Yeah, and I don't think China's going to back down. I don't think Xi Jinping is going to back down.
Mm-mm.
And if he does this, and it is a military crackdown, and if it's as bloody as I think it might end up being, we might not. Like I said earlier, at that point, I don't see how you could not support at least a trade war to try to weaken their economic power.
Okay, I wouldn't necessarily support trade wars, but I would absolutely support embargoes and support, because right now we're looking at tariffs. I would cut off.
At that point, we might be talking about embargoes.
Embargoes and
Heck, that could be Trump's plan. Take the pictures of Chinese troops slaughtering Hong Kong people and put them out to the American people. People will probably stop buying Chinese goods. Probably
military quarantine
I haven't even thought about that.
barricade lines. What are they called? We did it to Cuba during
Embargo. Oh, you mean blockades?
blockades, embargoes and blockades.
Blockades would lead to actual conflict, not just trade wars. That would lead
Well,
to actual
no,
warfare.
I understand that, but I could see if we put an embargo
Mm-hmm.
on China, and the UN put an embargo on China, we would have to use the blockades to enforce the embargoes.
Well, it would probably be when I'm talking about embargoes. It would probably be more of a voluntary embargo, like people just voluntarily not buying Chinese goods anymore.
That's more of a
Maybe I have too much faith in people, but I think if pictures got out of Hong Kong burning to the ground,
right. That's more of a not an embargo, because an embargo is when
that's a boycott.
boycott. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're thinking a boycott.
Yeah.
Yes, I could see boycotting China happening too.
Mm-hmm.
With the tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
But I could also would if it came down to where they just outright slaughtered the inhabitants of Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Like, the UN would come down with an embargo very, very quickly. or it would come down with something. It would.
Maybe. Right now, I don't have a lot of faith. I never had a lot of faith in the UN, but now I really don't have a lot of faith in the UN.
No, and I understand that, but if something like that were to happen, I think it would come down to an actual conflict very quickly.
Yeah. Like, maybe even at that point, wouldn't surprise me if even Russia's on our side. It wouldn't.
No.
But regardless, these are all worst case nightmare scenarios.
Yes,
Hopefully,
absolutely worst case nightmare scenarios.
Hopefully, it does not go that far. But
we can hope that cooler minds and calmer heads
prevail.
Yes.
But man, if China really does send in troops to Hong Kong and it escalates into violence, man, it could get bad real quick.
It could get really bad very quickly.
Yeah, that could be.
Especially given
that
the
could
size
escalate all the way up to a World War III.
Yeah, I mean, given the size of the riots and given what they're willing to do to stop them, I think it could escalate very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyways, that's a terrifying note to end on.
Yeah, maybe we should. Yeah.
You know what's cute? Puppy dogs.
Puppies are cute. Huskies are cute.
Huskies are cute. Pepper, my dog. That's the dog my parents got.
I like Pepper.
Yeah.
I haven't met Pepper yet, but she's really cute. I like her pictures.
She's I don't want to say she's completely potty trained, but she's getting to the point where she goes to the door most of the time. So that's good. That's good.
Part of
potty training.
Part of potty training a dog is similar to potty training a child. And no, I'm not comparing animals to children.
Although they have very similar intelligence levels.
It's about allowing them to grow into their bladder, or their bladder to grow into where they're at physically, so that they can actually have the capacity to hold the fluid.
Yeah.
And that's the only comparison. I am not saying you use the same techniques. It's about...
And the good thing is, when...
growth rates.
Say she does pee or poop on the floor, when one of us notices it and says her name, she'll kind of put her head down so she knows that
she knows she did something.
She knows she did wrong. So, I mean, she's still just a puppy. It's so hard to train a puppy.
Right.
But
like
anyways.
I said, it's about giving them time to grow, for everything to grow to a point where they can actually hold the fluid in time to get to... Because sometimes, like, when we were potty training Dwayne, the husky that I left in Omaha with my ex-husband, I hate to say it, but there were times when I would just laugh at him. Because he'd come and get us to try and go outside. And he'd be trying to get outside. But he'd be leaving this trail of pee through the living room and through the kitchen to the back door. Because he's trying to hold it to go outside.
Yeah.
But he just wasn't big enough yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the poor puppy, because, like, you can't really get mad at him because he's trying to do the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But I figured it would be nice to talk about something because I kind of scared myself there. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe.
Hit the share button.
Yeah. I have a feeling this video is definitely not going to be ranked. It helped out at all.
Yeah. But let us know your thoughts on current events, on what you're thinking, whatever random thing comes into your head. Talk to us. We do read the comments. We will talk back if we see something.
Yep.
If you have a video topic, put the suggestions in the comments below. We'll put something together on it.
Yep. Peace, friends.
Talk to you later.